All right, you guys are live. Go ahead.
Thank you.
All right, thank you everyone for making it to this month's meeting. I hope you all had a pleasant extended holiday break. And are ready to get back at it in this new year. I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's 4:03. And I'm going to begin with a roll call. And I am going to ask that everyone, when you hear your name, to actually say that you are present or here. Don't just wave, because Tammy is doing the minutes and is on a phone and is not going to see you wave. So if you hear your name, please speak up. Mike Allen. Scott Elliott.
Scott's here.
Malcolm George. Warren Hartenstein. Terry Kearney.
Terry, here.
Lisa Robinson. Julie Runke.
Here.
Lisa Scott Coleman. Megan Parker. Beetle Smith.
Beetle is
Maria
connecting
Terry?
to audio now.
Here.
Clark Turner. Richard Wayner, myself am here. Dan Wucinich.
Here.
Our ex officios, Robert Andrews,
Here.
Bridget Johnson,
Here.
Jason Robertson.
Here.
Excellent. Our first order will be to approve the minutes that were actually from our November meeting, as we did not have a meeting in December. I'm assuming everyone has had the opportunity to review those. We've had plenty of time. Johnson. Jason Robertson. I'm not sure if I'm the only one hearing that, but I seem to be getting an echo. Anyway, that being said, the minutes from the November 17 meeting, if everyone has had the opportunity to review those, I'd like to have a motion to approve them.
I motion for approval.
Can I get a second?
I second. Terry Kearney.
All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Aye. Aye.
Sounds like a unanimous approval. We will move on down the agenda to Bridget's Corner, the Department of Economic Development report. Mrs. Johnson, you have the comm.
Why, thank you. For one, it's good to see everyone. Happy New Year. I don't think we've seen each other since November, and I believe I missed that meeting because I was away. So I haven't seen some of you in quite a while. I hope everyone is doing well. I figured, I guess, Rich, for the rest of this meeting, we'll probably just be regrouping and seeing where we're headed in 2022. But I'll give a couple of updates of just some of the things that have been going on in the city and pretty much in this department as well. And one is, there's about 8 of them, so bear with me for a little while. They're not all totally pertinent to something that you may be working on, but it is information that is pertinent to what is going on in the city. So our office was working recently with the Lower Susquehanna Heritage Greenway. We received some funding for some grant opportunities. I bring this information up. I spoke about it last night at the council meeting, and that a lot is going on in Havre de Grace in this department and in other areas. And to see our businesses and nonprofits and organizations receiving funding for a lot of work that is happening in the downtown area and the waterfront is just good news and something that you should be up to date about. So we had just a small grant was awarded to the Havre de Grace Alliance, and they participated in the ICE Festival this weekend. If you were in town, this was the 4th annual Ice Festival, independent of last year with COVID. But to see the partnerships between the museums, this is the first of its kind where they all came together to write for this grant opportunity. This is also good because as you know, tourism is now a part of the Department of Economic Development. And as I try to unite these two departments, it's good to have the museums on board as well. So specifically out of my department, we wrote a grant and received $4,968 towards bicycle racks, wayfinding signage, and tourism branding. And this is particular to the downtown as well, as we try to accentuate some of our assets, such as the Lafayette Trail and other physical assets that we have with the museums and things. You will see a lot more marketing coming out of our department. So it's a small grant. It's the first time that we wrote for it and we received it. And we plan to spend that money probably in the first quarter of this year. We have the Havre de Grace Color School received funding to celebrate the 100-year celebration of the life and legacy of the late Dr. George T. Stansberry. The Color School has a museum in our city. And if you don't know the late George T. Stansberry, he would be worth Googling. The Havre de Grace Heritage Corridor through the Havre de Grace Arts Collective received a grant for $5,000. Again, with this continuing collaboration and partnering of promoting our downtown. So they will be working on a sculpture trail that leads from the lower Susquehanna Heritage Corridor into the North Park area. The Harmerstown, which was a grant given to the Harmerstown Arts Center, that's right on Market Street in the downtown. This is a developing arts community. It's also where, if you look on the side, this is where the Graw, the alley is, where we have a lot of the murals that are painted. So it's growing because also under this department and with tourism, we have the promotion of Main Street and the Arts and Entertainment District. The Havre de Grace has two distinct designations from the state of Maryland. And one is the Main Street District and the other is the Arts and Entertainment District. Within the department, I am working on, this will come before the EDAP board, at least for your blessings. You did it in 2017 for those of you that were on the board, but it's the update of the Havre de Grace Sustainable Communities Plan. I updated that when I was here in 2017 working as a consultant. It has to be renewed every 5 years. So this is year 5. It's due June 30th, 2022. So it will probably come before you in April or May just for a letter of support. You should have the Sustainable Communities Plan from 2017. If you do not, I will send it to Rich to disseminate to everyone on the commission, and you can compare what was done in 2017 to what we're working on in 2022. And this designation is not to be confused with the Sustainable Maryland certification, which is something altogether different. It's managed under the University of Maryland, but we are also a certified sustainable community. The update for this recertification is also due on June 30th, 2022. This will come before you as well, also probably in another letter of support. If neither one of these are ringing a bell, particularly to the newer members of the committee, I will update you on them, let you know what it means to the city, what it means to this department, and then you'll understand the letter of support that I will be asking for. If you are in the mood to come out tonight, in the downtown, we have a film crew in from Annapolis, and they are filming overnight on Washington Street. This is not the first movie to be filmed in Havre de Grace. There's just 2 scenes taking place here, so they are in town today, tomorrow, for the next 3 days. We've been planning this for about a month and a half. They came after they were vetted through the Maryland Tourism Council. We're happy to have them in town, staying in our bed and breakfasts, using our local restaurants and caterers. So if you see streets blocked off in the downtown, there's even a scene that is going to be filmed at City Hall tomorrow. So our parking lot is blocked off. And if you see a clown running through town, he is just part of the film. Do not be alarmed, but this is just more of us reaching out for tourism. And anytime, there's an opportunity to have a movie filmed in town, that's pretty good. We had I think we talked a couple months ago, Amanda retired. She was the owner of Amanda's Florist. We wish her a lot of luck. She was in business for over 30 years. And with that, we welcomed a new florist just last Friday. It's the name of the florist is Blooms at the Boutique. That ribbon cutting was conducted by the Harford County Chamber of Commerce, but it did take place at Haverty Grace. She is located across from McGregor's inside of another venue. So if you get an opportunity or if you need flowers or anything, we now have another florist back in town. While I was away, all of you should have received, hopefully, the new Haverty Grace Business Beat. We launched it the weekend, I think just before New Year's Eve. This is going to be a quarterly online publication coming out of this department. We'll end up printing some, but it will be very minimal. And those that, are printed will be at the visitor center as well as in our lobby. The goal is this first one was in the newsletter format. From this point forward, I hope to grow it, and it'll be more than a magazine format where we're reading horizontally and not vertically. And we are trying to, we will capture everything happening, not just in the downtown, but in the city overall, in economic development, planning in terms of permits. We have annexations going on the city along Route 40. I've never seen these many annexations at one time coming into the city of Haverty Grace, and I've been working here on and off for almost 20 years now. So there are opportunities for new development. So we are going to capture this type of information, probably as well as some public safety from the police department and any other departments that would like to put something into the magazine. I'm hoping that it's no more than 5 pages because people will eventually stop reading it. But it will be housed on the city website as well as the tourism website. And I'm going to be working on updating that website as well. Last but not least, the city of Haverty Grace we have a large project upon us, the downtown revitalization project. We've talked about this before. We've talked about it over the last couple of months. This is not headed by the Department of Economic Development. It's headed by Patrick Saipo, who is our project manager, but all departments are involved. We are down. I think we were keeping you up to date when we were going through the consulting process. A consultant has been hired. The name is Tool Design. They are very experienced in this. They are headquartered out of Bethesda, Maryland, but they are a national, they may be an international. The charrettes start on Monday. If you are interested, if you haven't already signed up to participate, you can just go to the city website and under calendar, you will see the different sessions. So there's different group sessions. This is all virtual now due to COVID. We were going to do these in several different locations around the city, but now due to the positive rates of the infection with COVID, it's going to be virtual. That gives you an opportunity. You register through Eventbrite. You can choose whatever session you want to be in. I would, if you're going to participate, sign up Monday night. I think it's at 6 p.m. and that's for the kickoff of the event. So you will get a full understanding of what the consultants will be doing and what they are trying to accomplish with this study. And then on Thursday when it ends, I think it's at 6 p.m. again, you will see what everyone accomplished during the week. But if you want to be a part of it, if you want your voice heard, particularly for anyone who is a resident of the city of Havre de Grace, you should really look at some of those breakout sessions and sign up for them. I think they all are 2 hours and they're throughout the day, whatever your schedule allows. So that is pretty much what I have for the group for now. And if you have any questions, I will answer them. And of course, I will be on here for the whole, the entirety of the meeting.
Thank you, Bridget. Just a quick question, the clown that's going to be running around, is this the killer clown variety or the funny clown variety?
I wouldn't, he's supposed to be a mixture of both.
Okay.
It is called a comedic horror thriller, but what he will be doing in Havre de Grace is basically more comedy.
Roger that. Thank you. We will move over to the Harford County Office of Community Economic Development report. Mr. Andrews.
Thank you, Rich, and thank you, Bridget, for a very informative presentation. A lot has been going on in Harford County over the past year. I know COVID has made a lot of businesses struggle, especially in our retail, our service, and tourism sectors. However, there was some really great news on our industrial manufacturing sector. CBRE, the world's largest commercial real estate and services investment firm, did a survey at the end of the year showing that the Baltimore County and East, or Harford and Cecil County, the inventory of industrial manufacturing space had dropped to about 3.3%. Harford and Cecil County were running about 4%. However, with some of the deals that are just closing and a couple of that are close to closing, it will bring our numbers in Harford County probably a little bit below 3%. We've had a banner year. We've brought in 8 major companies. Almost all of them are new to Harford County, and only one, or actually 2, are expanding their operation. Over the past year, we have added, or will be adding in the very short future, about 800 jobs. Some of the companies that have moved in, Webstaurant, a nationwide restaurant and service industry provider, has moved into Eastgate and took the old Kuna Nagel space, which was the old retailer or distributor for Amazon large products. Wave Industry, the manufacturer that is primarily in the Perryman Peninsula, has built an enormous new manufacturing / warehouse in Riverside to assist in additional production and storage of their product. This is an adjunct to their Perryman property. They will be opening soon. We have Elite Comfort Solutions, which Havre de Grace is well aware of, moving into the old Dart Solo location in the Havre de Grace Industrial Park. By the time they're fully operational, it'll be about 225 jobs added to, and these are good manufacturing jobs. They produce foam products for the mattress industry, for the automotive industry, for the packing industry, just a really well-run and diversified company. We have Frito-Lay has taken over the old Saks Fifth Avenue warehouse on Route 40 at 715. They will be moving in March. It will be additional storage for some of the product that they make at their location, but it will also be a DC center for all of the Frito-Lay products that are made. That includes the chip segment, all of the different condiments they have, their dips and so on, and some of their sub items that are made under the Pepsi Frito-Lay banner. So that is a great add for the area. Fanatics, the sports memorabilia provider nationwide, has taken over the Aberdeen Logistics Center, just behind Walmart off of Route 40 in close to 115 or 715. They will be moving in and adding probably about 135 jobs. So we're happy to see that. Wayfair, the nationwide furniture and decor specialty organization, has moved their e-commerce and distribution center to a 1.2 million square foot facility to round out the completion of the Eastgate property in the Perryman Peninsula. Medifast has taken over the old Medline building on Robin Hood Road, just in between Havre de Grace, right at the edge of Aberdeen. They will be adding about 200 full-time equivalent positions. So we are really happy. Macy's, that is located in the Fashion Way area of Joppatown, is adding on to their facility, and it will be increasing their 900 plus employees to about 1,100. So it's a lot of activity going on in Harford County, throughout the county, adding a lot of jobs, and hopefully, additional rooftops will come along with that. A lot of things have gone on. The administration just a couple of weeks ago had a virtual meeting with the three major bond rating organizations in the country, and had a great session with each one of them. And we are fully expecting to maintain the county's AAA bond rating going forward for this year. Our department has produced and published the 2022 annual growth report. That publication has just come off the press, and we hope to have those distributed sometime in the next couple of weeks. Also, the Grove, our agricultural incubator, has closed for January, February, and March. We realized after operating it last year during those winter months, since the facility is not heated, it didn't lend for a comfortable shopping experience for any of the patrons. So along with the vendors that are located there, we decided to close for those particular months, and we'll be reopening with a bang in April. APG has gone to HPCon Bravo Plus, which brings down the number of people that are allowed on the base. So it'll be about 40% of the people will be working on post. And they've increased their COVID for anyone that goes on post. There are increased COVID protocols, including proof of vaccination and several other things that if you have to go on base, it's a process. So we're hoping that things continue to look better as we move into 2022. That's about all I have. If anyone has any questions, please let me know.
Robert, I had a question.
Sure, Bridget.
The 2022 growth report, is it online, or when you say distributed, do you mail them to all of us? How do we get a copy?
Okay, it is online. If you go to our website or our Facebook page, you'll see the growth report and a link. Plus, we will be distributing hard copies. I'll be bringing them by City Hall sometime in the next couple of weeks and leaving a supply with you with Havre de Grace, with Aberdeen and Bel Air. And then we'll distribute it in certain locations, have it at Visit Hartford and some other areas.
Great. And my second question, did you say Wayfair was in Perryman?
Yes, it's in Eastgate. It took over, so it is a brand new building that hadn't even been completed. And then when they decided that they wanted it, they had to actually add on another 200,000 square feet. So that makes it that 1.2 million square foot facility.
Got it. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Mr. Andrews.
You're welcome.
Jason Robertson, City Council. Do you have any remarks for us this afternoon?
Hey, Rich. Hey, everybody. Happy New Year. Just two quick things. Number one is just want to let everybody know that the American Legion will be doing wreath pickup on Saturday at Mount Aaron and at Angel Hill. It'll start at 9. I had mentioned it in my comments yesterday at council, but you know, I had the wrong time. I had 10, which was what was in my calendar, but it's 09. So it's it's picking up the wreaths that we had set out for Wreaths Across America back in December. This Saturday, just picking them up. Mount Aaron, Angel Hill, 09. The second thing is the mayor and council will be meeting tomorrow, Thursday at 6 p.m. for a special council meeting. That was just put out. So, you know, it's just meeting and then going into closed session to discuss a matter, and that'll be it. And yeah, I think that's all that I got.
All right. Thank you, Jason. We're going to move into the strategic initiatives section of our agenda. As I'm not sure how much movement has actually happened over the holidays, I'm going to do this kind of a brief by exception. I'm going to touch each one of these. If there is any questions, comments, any information, any dialogue or discussion, please just throw it out there when I touch upon the topic. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time dwelling on a lot of things that we probably really don't have any new information on. With that being said, I'm going to run down the list. As stated, if there is a question you have on it or a comment or a topic for discussion, please throw it out there and we will do our best to work it. Otherwise, we're going to move on through the list. The first one would be the Auditorium and Gymnasium project, or the repurposing project. I noticed that it is being used. I've been by there a couple times. The lights have been on. There have been kids in there playing basketball and things like that. I'm not sure if any movement has been made on turning that into a viable, whether it's going to be a managed property for lease.
If I could with you, Rich, real quick on this, number one, did we share with you, and it's a possibility we didn't due to the holidays, the report that came back from the consultants on the auditorium and gymnasium, the finished report?
I have not seen that.
Okay, so let me double check with Patrick. I'm pretty sure it's for public consumption as well. And when I do, I will share it with everyone, because this was, we spoke about this earlier in the fall, that the city hired consultants for this specific purpose of seeing what we should do with the gymnasium and auditorium, and that report is back and it's finalized. So just a brief synopsis is, yes, it came back saying the gymnasium should be utilized as a gymnasium, and the city entered into an MOU with Havre de Grace Parks and Recreation. So that's why you see lights on and kids in there playing, because I think the MOU goes into March 31st. So that's a good use of the gym, and Parks and Rec is using it. We have some already upcoming events. Last night at council, it was approved that the decoy show, which I believe is the first weekend in May, don't quote me, the dates are all in my head, but they will be utilizing the space as well. And then for the auditorium, I'm pretty sure we are working on booking entertainment for that side as well for concerts. So I will get the study. This should help EDAP as they move forward, and at least speaking of the auditorium and gymnasium, and I'll share that information.
Perfect. Thank you, Bridget. Just as a quick note on that, is that place available for lease, or is it only for things that are going through the city?
Well, it's for lease, because even the some of the events that are coming, you would have to work it out directly with the director of administration, but there are some costs to it. I don't know the breakdown, but yes, there's sometimes trash and things with these events, and if we have to pay, city services
Sure.
and employees to do this.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. The second bullet is the hospital repurposing. Leave that one hang there for a second. Does anyone have any comments, questions?
I would say I won't leave it hanging. I would say I would keep this as a priority. In that, again, just coming through the holidays, and we know that Lyle Sheldon retired, I believe, in December. So the city has reached out to the new person. I'm sorry, I forgot her name, that is taking his place. So I would look for hopefully some collaboration on this in the near future, some meetings with her, and maybe getting information on if they have some plans or what the plans may be, and how we can incorporate some of the things that we are looking at for that property as well. So I think we're just in a stage of building the relationship, but definitely the hospital should stay on radar.
Right, absolutely. I just wanted to know if it was anything that EDAB should be working right now, or if it's just kind of in a holding pattern for us. And that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the hospital property that we had the little retreat for. I'm not sure where else to go with that. We came up with some ideas. It was presented. Should we be doing anything further with that?
I think for the hospital property at I-95 at the moment, kind of on hold, because you did what EDAP did, what was asked of them in terms of submitting that information to the administration. I haven't received a lot of feedback on that yet. There's several things going on, but I don't think we can move any further at this point on the hospital property at 95 until we have a little bit more direction.
Roger that. The industrial park, and I guess more specifically the sign. I know there was some discussion about that the last time. It was in a trying to come up with a design. I'm drawing a blank on the name.
So I'm looking at the minutes from November, and I would say that for the industrial park, a sign is not out of the realm of possibility, but it just says, and maybe Julie can comment at some point, that Shane, who is our director of planning, was going to come up with an attractive sign. So is this just one of them projects where we were waiting for funding to erect the sign? Because I'm not really sure where the sign was going to go. Julie,
The last I remember, we were going to have a meeting with all the industrial park residents to see if they would chip in on the sign, if they were interested in the sign. And then we talked about having some quotes go up, bids on building a sign, but we just let it drop after a while.
did we was the where the plan was to locate the sign? Is it on city property, or whose property was the sign?
It was on the Sherwin-Williams property. It was right on the corner.
I would hold off on this for a second, and only because there's movement with the Sherwin-Williams property, and we will not be calling it the Sherwin-Williams property much longer. But we just cannot give out all of the information. But there is a business coming in there soon, and as soon as we're able to put it out into the universe, we will. So I would say we wait until the new business is in, and then we can have a conversation about putting a sign on their property. If there was another location that was being looked at by EDAP, I don't know, for a sign, we could possibly look at that. But if we're gonna stick with the Sherwin-Williams property, let's give that a few weeks.
Hey, Bridget, it's Scott. And I do remember Warren talking about that, going back to Erica's comments, that I think Steve Shaw, who's an investor, had purchased the building a while ago, and he brought in a tenant from Delaware that I think's in there now. But if there's a contemplation of him selling it, then I guess that would change the plan. But what EDAB had said was that Steve Shaw entertained our ideas to put a sign like an entrance to Havre de Grace on his property or work with us in that manner. I think that was the comment in our minutes.
Okay. Okay. I think we're okay with just waiting for this for a couple of weeks. It's a pretty big name brand company that's coming on there, and I would just want everybody to be on board with it. I do think we need another park, a sign for the industrial park. And quite frankly, I would try to find funding for it instead of going to each company and asking them to chip in for a sign. So we make him rework this whole initiative. Okay.
Sounds good. Next one up on the docket is the culturally significant properties. I know we started with a pretty extensive list, then it ended up with a much shorter list, but I think there was some discussion. I know, Warren, you and I spoke about it, that I believe your opinion was that a lot of things were being overlooked on the list that we were working from. Refresh my memory if that is incorrect.
No, the intent was actually to look at the private sector, the privately held properties in Havre de Grace that were culturally significant. And I don't know how it got off rails, but the ultimate intent was that the city would entertain the idea of providing a support program similar to the facade program, that for properties that were identified as culturally significant. Unfortunately, the list started, it includes the lighthouse and many other public properties, the lock house, the lighthouse, that are not in the private sector and would not qualify under that concept. So it's kind of, I guess, got to be revisited. The whole idea was, again, the city was given by the Historical Commission 150 properties roughly. They were unhappy with that and came to EDAB and said, we'd like to help preserve those properties, but it was every property ever. And so they ask us to identify those privately held properties that could benefit from such a program.
Right. Yeah, I remember we had to come with that happy medium between every barn that had been existing for 100 years or more, and every building in Havre de Grace. Okay. Is that something, Bridget, that possibly could be rolled into the downtown revitalization project?
I would say no at this time because the scope of work for the downtown revitalization project was written a long time ago, and the consultants are working off of the scope of work that they were hired to do. I'm not saying that we drop this initiative. I'm just saying that it's to become a larger part of that study.
Roger that. So
where exactly do y'all want to go with this initiative? Because it's coming up monthly or when we speak. So is this something that you want to take forward? There's 29, I think Warren said, or you narrowed it down from 150 to 29 privately held properties that you feel as though should be protected. And I'm guessing the program is the city was going to put some funding towards protecting these properties, or how was that part going to work?
Well, the concept was, no, it wasn't narrowed down, Bridget. Unfortunately, the narrowing down it took in many publicly owned or 501c3 owned properties. What the intention was to identify, and the number I was given as chairman was 25 to 35 properties in private hands that would benefit from city support. City support was not defined, but I am aware that the city does things for example, like, in order not to go to the state legislature, like property tax rebate, or, but maybe it mirror images the facade program in some way that assists people who own properties that are culturally significant to the appearance. The example I used was the original hospital across from the library. If there was a desire to upgrade the external appearance of that building, how would the city support that? That's up to the city, but the challenge was to identify 25 to 35 properties like that in the city.
Okay. So,
In private hands.
gotcha. So if this, if EDAB decides this is something that you want to work on and move forward, I believe Chris Stathis and everyone else on here identified those 25 to 30 properties, correct? I thought that happened, that the properties
No.
were none of them yet, Warren?
Unfortunately, the list, Chris's list included the lighthouse, the lock house, and many other. So we went, somehow we lost direction in the project, and it needs to be revisited and reconstructed if EDAB decides it wants to go forward with it.
Okay. Since I'm an ex officio and not a voting member on EDAP, I would just suggest that the advisory committee, if decide if y'all want to move forward with this, and then I have some suggestions, if that's what you decide. But this program was not, is not at this moment like a priority that I was working on in the Department of Economic Development.
Well, it seems like a good starting point for that. We go back to the original list, strike out all of the publicly owned, the structures that Warren was just talking about that really don't belong on there. That's going to shorten the list considerably. And I guess then we can put a subcommittee or put the subcommittee back on it again to try to create a workable list off of that. Does that sound more, Warren, what I think your original intent was? To just put together a bulleted list, not including any public structures, lighthouses, and things like that. That would, the list is still going to be long. So I guess the first thing we'd have to do is come up with some sort of criteria for what would make it culturally significant.
Well, the idea was the DDOB was the vehicle that we were chosen by the city and asked to proceed with the project. And that was the whole idea, as I've explained, to assist people who own properties. At the time, the building at the corner of Pennington and Washington with the cupola was looking pretty deteriorated. And so there was concerns about those buildings being preserved in key, as key vistascapes within the city. That was what the city came to us about and asked us to undertake.
So there are a number of resources available between the Lafayette Trail. There's the Historic Homes webpage, and there's a couple other resources where we could go through one by one, like you said, knock off the public ones and then look at the others and say, did somebody live there? Is there something unique about that house? Beyond it's just being old, is there something unique that's worth keeping? Make those notes and then present that back saying, here's the ones that, somebody important actually did live there or something happened there.
Right. I think as far, because I don't even remember who was all on this committee.
I think Chris
originally.
Stathy's pretty much did it by himself.
Okay. Because we are missing a few people today, I'm going to go ahead and try to put together the committee basically by volunteer. Because if you're on working this, you really should have some interest in the culturally and historical part of it. You know, if you're somebody that really isn't that keen on the historical end of it, this might not be your boat, but some people might have a little bit more interest in that. And I want to make sure that they are the ones that are tackling it. Bottom line up front, this is definitely something we're going to keep on going, Bridget. I think we're going to light a new fire underneath of it. And approach it just like both Julie and Warren just said, starting with the original, knock out the easy ones, and then develop a set of criteria and then filter the remaining buildings against that criteria. But we're going to do that with a select subcommittee of people that, for lack of a better way of putting it, have an interest in it, rather than, you know, doing it as a project without really understanding the historical significance of some of these things. If that is acceptable, that is the direction I'd like to go with that.
Fine with me.
Well, you know, Julie, you're going to be heading it up.
Well, as somebody who runs the historic home candlelight tour, I've either had them on my tour or will have them on my tour. So
That's perfect. Thanks for volunteering. But that is the direction we will go with that. Moving forward, the yacht basin and marina, I think we pretty much put that to bed last time, didn't we? I mean, we had a pretty nice presentation. I think EDAB's portion of that is, we've taken it about as far as we can. Does anybody have anything additional to put on to that?
Well, I guess when is General Taylor going to make, you know, comments on his end about the review of the reports that we had on the marina?
Well, I'm not sure if he specifically is or not, but I think his portion of that was included in the briefing that we got at the last meeting. If I'm not mistaken, that was a joint effort.
No, I think Scott's right. The idea was to let General Taylor get time under his belt with the marina and then come back and do a more detailed report on the on you know, how the prioritization, et cetera. So there was definitely an element of General Taylor coming back to EDAB as a follow-up to the committee's report.
Okay, so for right now, I mean, what I got out of that meeting was that they did raise prices a little, if I remember correctly. And they were cleaning things up. They had contacted some owners of boats that had to clean things up. And then the third thing I got out of that is that we rely on the Army Corps of Engineers for the dredging. And I had talked to some people afterwards about that. So now I guess I'm a little confused on that. When we rely on the Army Corps of Engineers for dredging, I'm not sure what that means, because they were just out there dredging, but it was a private company. It wasn't the Army Corps. And the private company it seems like they were getting paid through the town. So does anybody understand how that's working?
I think there's two different projects you were kind of looking at there, Scott, and the Army Corps of Engineers have been dredging here, you know, in the city of Havre de Grace every few years. And that is who we were dependent upon for the dredging. And as Steve has stated, I think at first it was supposed to be like every 7 years or something like that, but
Right.
we need it more often when, you know, we can talk about the Conowingo Dam and all of that. But right now, the Army Corps of Engineer does our dredging, so we have to see how that's going to pan out moving forward. But I guess my question is to y'all and asking about Randy Taylor is that Steve had been working. I don't know if Randy would tell y'all anything differently than what Steve had told you, unless he's working on a special report at the marina that I'm not privy to. Steve was the one that the additional fees and everything that came through kind of like through his purview, as director of administration. So I mean, I can ask Randy to come and speak to the group, but I don't believe he has any information different than what Steve told you in, looks like November or October.
Right.
Yeah, and it may be in the future that he's needed, but who's managing it now?
Who's managing
The marina.
the city marina is managed by the city. We have an
So it's
employee.
Steve, essentially Steve and the administration manages,
Well, we have an employee that works at the marina.
that works at the marina on a daily basis. Okay.
The, on the Corps of Engineers, the channel is, according to Steve, designated as some kind of through channel. And there's a real concern that at the city that designation does not today reflect reality. And when the Army Corps of Engineers, in days of declining budgets, gets under pressure, that the dredging will fall entirely to the city as a responsibility. And that was one of the concerns even back when Steve did the report in 2009, but it was, he reiterated it to us on the committee as a very significant concern.
It wouldn't fit the criteria for the Army Corps of Engineer to dredge it going forward if that was the case?
Well, the channel, if they look at the channel and it's judged not to be some big channel that's significant to commerce, then the Army Corps of Engineers will no longer dredge it.
Gotcha. And there's not, I got you. Okay. Okay. So the work I saw recently was in the back channel leading from the marina out, to the back along the Swan Harbor coastline. So I assume that. Go ahead, Bridget.
No, I was just I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Piggyback on what Warren was saying is that we're getting to the point with my limited knowledge of boating and everything that the dredging needs to occur more often than the Army Corps of Engineers is allowed to dredge. So at some point, it may be a cost that the city has to endure. So this is why we're saying moving forward, things may change in that. But yes, and that's been some of the complaints for the Army Corps of Engineer right now. They have us, on some type of schedule, and because it's not a major, they get to us, when we can every few years. But the problem is we seem to need dredging more often than the Army Corps of Engineers is allowed to dredge.
Right. And if it has to do with commerce, I assume that's the main channel out in the Susquehanna. Because what we were talking about is the little channel that goes around the marina, which seems to be much smaller. And if the Army Corps is doing that, for free, that's terrific. But yeah, one day that may be back on the town. That's where I was confused because there's a couple channels there.
Yeah, generally speaking, the Army Corps of Engineer only handles shipping lanes. That's all they maintain. If they're doing any of those small ancillary channels, then they're doing it just because.
Yeah, that's what I didn't understand. I didn't understand why they'd be doing a little channel around the marina. That's a pretty small channel. And then I saw a private company in the back channel doing the work over Christmas, which I'm sure a lot of people saw. So it just wasn't jiving. The stuff that Steve said about the Army Corps didn't jive with what I was seeing.
Well, no, you've got the point exactly. It's as Rich says, it's not a commercial channel, yet the Army Corps is in fact dredging the channel into the marina. And when that ends, and the city anticipates it will end, according to Steve, at the outset of it, then it will be a significant new cost that will befall the city or the marina.
Okay.
So on our part of it, then, is there any value to us trying to get General Taylor to brief us or allow him more time until there's something to actually brief us on? Assuming, like Bridget said, and what I kind of got out of it too, that he wasn't going to have anything to add that Steve didn't already give us already at this time.
I think we just wait until he has something for us.
And he could come in and say basically the same thing Steve said. So we'll give him a little bit of time and then request in a couple of months.
I would do that, and I would. What are you requesting? Are you
An updated briefing.
clear? Okay, you just want an update on
Anything that's changed since the last time that we were briefed.
okay.
Yeah, it looked like it was losing a lot of money. I mean, honestly, and Steve addressed some of that. So you know, if we're EDAB, we should be aware of projects like that are, you know, losing money. If there's anything we can do to help, or it sounds like they were trying to shore up the management of the marina too. They discussed that a lot. So
your committee identified several weaknesses in the marina, and I'm not sure what's a while ago when Steve said, let General Taylor come in and get his feet on the ground and then come back to you. And of course, Steve did brief us in since. So I don't know if his intention still continues, but the point by point weaknesses or problems in the marina identified by the EDAB committee, that was what was intended to be the brief, the subsequent brief. Now, if Steve no longer feels that's necessary, that's up to him.
Understood. Gotcha.
Okay. Anything further on the yacht basin? We will move on to the last bullet here, and that is the measuring success. I'm not sure there's been any movement on that at all. Hearing
Again,
nothing.
I think we discussed this, or we did. I don't know if it was October or November. I really have no further comment on this bullet. I guess it's up to you with whatever y'all want to do, but I don't. It was something, from my understanding, that was started when Erica was here due to whatever EDAB and Erica was doing or experiencing at that time. And that is as much as I know and as far as I'm going with that bullet.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually, to fill it in, it wasn't that. It was that the city, when they created the new contract with Erica, the city came to us and they said, we can do a city evaluation, whatever formal public entities do to evaluate employees. But we would like assistance from the business community in identifying other factors that would be included in assessing the performance of an economic development director. Now, that may have been specific to Erica, and that desire may no longer be there, but that was the explicit request. And it was requested that the executive, because it's a sensitive area, that the executive of EDAB take that project on itself.
Okay, so the idea was not to try to measure our success, but to actually get feedback from businesses of what success looks like. So that
no, Rich. it was to add elements of measurement. If a public entity measures employees, a business might measure them differently. How could, because it's the economic development activity is very much touches the business sector, what business elements would be, would the assessment or would help the director or help the city evaluate its performance in economic development better? Not, in other words, if they, right now, I'm sure Bridget has this probably a job description with elements that she has to satisfy. And the request was for the Economic Development Advisory Board leadership to add business elements that may accrue. Businesses evaluate people differently. So.
Okay, yeah, I think I understand you. As Warren just kind of alluded to, I'm going to hang on to that one. See what I can come up with. See whether the administration even still wants it.
I would start there.
Yeah, that one's on me though. So yeah.
Not in my contract. Thanks.
Okay, well, that moves us through the initiatives. Any alibis for any of the initiatives that we just spoke on? If not, we will move along. Old business, not related to initiatives. I'm not sure that we have any that are not initiative related. Anyone? Hearing nothing, we will move on to new business. One thing I do want to touch on with new business, because most of you are probably aware in some degree or another about the potential changes in the structure of different committees, EDAB being one of within the city. Just want to make sure that everyone does know that it's happening. We've sat on some meetings, representatives from all of the different the groups. They are going to, the structure is going to change. How it's going to be, what the final product will look like, I'm not entirely sure. We have a pretty good idea of how it's forming up, but I don't want to speak out of turn and say what will be until it is. But do know that there will be a slight restructuring. It will not really change what we do at all. The only thing it will change will probably be how we relate to other organizations. We may have a little bit more contact. I don't want to say oversight, but a little bit more connection to the other groups that are doing similar things within the city. It'll probably fall mostly under the umbrella of the Chamber of Commerce. They will probably be kind of the glue that holds everything together. But other than that, I don't see what we do or our structure changing a whole heck of a lot. Our membership will probably be exactly the same. We just may see a few new faces now and then, or get some input from some other groups and be able to provide input to some other groups. Went through the meetings. Bridget was there. There were a lot of other people there. Kind of exciting. The direction, I think, is the right direction. And I think it's going to be a boon for the city. And it's actually going to, I think, help each of the groups, including us, moving forward. I will be happy to try to field any questions about that if I can. Bridget, you can feel free to jump in because you probably know more about this than I do at this time. But I don't want anybody to get blindsided or caught off guard if somebody mentions this. You probably already knew about it, but I wanted you to hear it from me. So that being said, I'll open the floor for any questions concerning this. Hearing nothing, I will assume I gave a crystal clear explanation, and not just that no one wants to ask. I'm going to go with that. Bridget, anything you would like to add to that?
Not at this time, Rich.
Okay. We'll open it up to the public. I don't know if we have anybody from the public. I have a couple of phone numbers. I'm not sure who they are. So if you are from the public and not a member of EDAB, this is your time. If there's anything you would like to discuss. Hearing nothing, we will move down. The next meeting is currently scheduled for February 16th. At this moment, I will assume we will be doing it virtually again unless something changes between now and then. Count on it being virtual though, unless you hear otherwise. Just as a single alibi before we move to adjournment, I urge everyone to take advantage of the opportunity that Bridget outlined earlier about joining what do they call them? Clarets?
Charrettes.
Charrettes. I got my schedule. I'm on one. I would urge everybody to try to get involved in this because it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be a chance to make a difference and put your footprint or your fingerprints, I guess, rather than your footprint, put your fingerprints on it. Be part of it. Big things happening. That's all I have on that. So barring any questions, comments, or any additional alibis from anyone. Hearing nothing, we can move to adjournment if I have a motion.
I'll motion for adjournment.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sounds unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Hope you got something out of this meeting, and I will see you all back here on February the 16th.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Hey, Bridget, can you hang on for a moment?
Yes.